Hello and welcome to this first in a series of UnityFS tutorials designed to show you how to rig a simple aircraft, introduce you to the concepts of UnityFS and just to the power of its functionality. So in this first tutorial we're just going to look at the very basics of how to begin creating a new aircraft in UnityFS. So I've just got Unity open, version 3.5. I've extracted my UnityFS package, which you can see down here in the project view. And I've just got the default scene open, which you can see here. We've just got the main camera. So the first thing I'm going to do is delete the main camera and open up the UnityFS directory. In the prefabs folder, you'll find that there is a prefab called test scene objects. You don't have to use this, but if you drag this into the scene, you'll see that this is just a very simple scene that makes aircraft creation even easier. So there's just a plane in here, a camera with a skybox, and a little bit of text. So now we've got a scene, we can look at creating an aircraft. And to do that, again, in the prefabs folder, there's an aircraft directory. And in here, there's a templates directory, which has two templates for aircraft creation. There's the empty template and also the basic template. So just to give you a little insight into the structure, if we pull in the empty template, you'll see that this creates a game object, which has an aircraft component on it, and also a rigid body component on it. If we open it up, we'll see that the aircraft prefab has four children: camera, dynamics, model, and wheels. These are essentially treated as folders to help you organize your aircraft, and each folder is arranged in such a way to store the specific items which we will attach to our aircraft. So cameras will live in the cameras folder, dynamics, which are things like wings and other physical objects, will live in here. Model, which is the actual 3D model of the aircraft, will live in here, and Unity's wheel colliders will live in here. So this is the bare minimum that we need in order to create our aircraft. We're actually going to delete that and instead pull in the basic prefab, which gives us a little bit more. So you'll see that this has got a wind component on it, which we'll get into more detail later. But also, if we open it up, you'll see in the cameras folder that there's a number of cameras in there. And if we open up dynamics, you'll see that the center of gravity helper is in there, and also there's a simple engine. And that's it. So if we select our basic aircraft, we can rename it to something a little bit more useful, like tutorial aircraft. And then what we're going to do is just position it at the origin of the scene, like so. So if we just look at this, you can see that there's not really anything exciting going on there at the moment, but you can see there's a few cameras set up. So now we have this aircraft component set up, and the folders underneath all arranged with a couple of cameras. We can now pull in a model which we want to use to fly. So I went on the internet earlier and I just downloaded a model of a simple aircraft, a little single-engine aircraft. So if I pull that in and drop it, you can see it here. So again, the first thing we want to do is just put this in the center because it makes attaching it a bit easier. We're just going to align it with our aircraft here. And now we've done that, we're going to drag it into the model directory so that it is attached to our new tutorial aircraft template. So we just drop it into model there. Now we've done that, we're just going to check a few things. Firstly, we're going to check that the aircraft is actually pointing in the right direction. So if I select tutorial aircraft and look at the forward axis, we can see that the model is facing the right way. If it's not, we can just open up model, select the model in here, and then rotate it around to face the correct direction. Another important thing to check at this stage is the scale of the model. Often if you're getting models for free off the internet, they could be completely different scales, but if you want to maximize the realism of the flight simulation, then it's important that this model is the correct scale. So one useful thing we can do to discover that is if we just go onto the internet, we can look at the wingspan, which in this case is 10.97, and just see how that relates to the model. A useful little trick in Unity is just to create a new game object, just a little cube, set it to the center, and then if we scale it by 10.97, we can see how that relates to the model. Sometimes these will be out massively, but if we look at this one, we can see that it's not that far off at all. So we can just scale up the model slightly, Maybe a little bit more. And now we know that when we start rigging up the aircraft, that it is going to be the correct size, and so the wings and everything are going to match up to the weight. The weight of the aircraft we can set now as well. So if we click on tutorial aircraft, we'll see that in the rigid body we have our mass here. And if we go back to our document, you can see in here there are a couple of weights. We've got our empty weight, which is 547 kilograms, and our loaded weight, which is 998 kilograms. So we'll pick something which is in between the two, so we'll call it maybe 900 kilograms. So we've got someone inside of fuel, so we're coming up to the maximum weight. And that's about it. We've now got our aircraft set up. We've got the model in this directory, and we've set up the weight. Another useful thing we could do quickly actually is if we select the center of gravity, we can just position this in a location which is vaguely sensible for the aircraft, although we can tweak this later. A useful tip is to change from RGB to overdraw, and then we can position the center of gravity helper into a position which makes sense for the aircraft. Usually the center of gravity is roughly 25% of the way back along the wing, so about here, and roughly in line with the engine, so we'll say around about here. That should be about right for now. And if we look at it here, you can see that we have our center of gravity set up, and the the model is now attached to our aircraft prefab. Now we've done that, we can start to look at how to attach wings.